Hey everybody, I'm Robert Yerby, and I'm an insurance professional, and admittedly, kind of an insurance nerd. My friends and family tell me that nobody is going to want to listen to a podcast about insurance, so instead, on this show, I'm hoping to share a story or have a conversation with a guest about some relatable experience, and then show you how insurance impacts that story or topic. My hope is you'll enjoy a few laughs with me and maybe learn at least one interesting thing about insurance along the way. Here we go. Hey everybody, this is Robert and it's podcast time. And today I'm coming at you from Galveston, Texas. And I have a guest with me today, my oldest son, Brandon.
Hello everyone.
Hey. Yeah, Brandon, well, first, let me back up. This is the first podcast I'm doing from Galveston. I drove out here from Arizona a week or so ago. Road trip through Texas, and I just wanted to spend a month in Galveston. I'd never been before. I wanted to see what it was like. People were asking me, hey, did you do any research on Galveston? What is it that you find interesting there? I did almost no research. Just knew that it was a place I'd never been before. And based on something somewhat silly, it seemed interesting to me. And I'll tell you what that thing is in a minute. But Brandon lives in suburban Chicago, and we just wanted to make a weekend of it. And so you flew down, and here we are.
Yep, and I've enjoyed the weather so far. That's been really nice. Going from negative degrees.
Yeah, it's definitely winter in Chicago, and I guess this is winter in Galveston. It's been in the 60s and sunny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it is nice. We walked the seawall yesterday. I guess if people know Galveston, they'll know what we're talking about, but. Yeah, it's just a long, straight walk.
Yeah, no, but it was really nice. Yeah. Really great views out in the water.
The seawall makes me think of what it was that I guess piqued my interest in Galveston originally. So I'm an insurance guy, and what I have known about Galveston has been the hurricane from 1900 that hit here and killed 6,000 people. It was arguably the worst hurricane in U.S. history. It hit right here in Galveston. And then as we were walking yesterday, we saw that marker that talks about how they built the seawall. Mm-hmm. And it's 12 feet high to help protect against future storms. So it's nerdy stuff like that I like to see, that I get interested in.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool too. And, prior to me coming here this weekend, I didn't know anything about Galveston.
You didn't do homework?
I didn't do any homework. No, certainly didn't. And that was a really cool piece of history, to be honest. Scary piece of history, I guess.
Yeah. I imagine in 1900 they didn't have weather forecasts. Mm-hmm. Or that'd be interesting too. Like, I don't know what the weather forecast would have been like. They have like farmers' almanacs and stuff in 1900, but I don't know if that talked about hurricanes and the weather that's coming in to the islands. I don't know. Anyway, all right. So we're here in Galveston, and along that long walk that we took, we walked an hour each way.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about insurance yesterday quite a bit, as is typical when you're talking to me.
Yeah, it comes up when we're talking. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to the expert.
But I have a story that I didn't share. And I don't think I told you much about this, even like over the phone, as it was happening. But it was like 2-3 months ago, I was having trouble with the Camaro. Right. And it was the turbo. So maybe to give just a little more context, I had an engine problem with the Camaro going back to like March. And it was, let's call it like $7,000 all in to get it fixed. And so I mean, I paid for all the repairs out of pocket, and I'm not regretting that decision. But soon after that, I started thinking, Daisha has a vehicle service contract in case something major happens with her Mercedes. And I just thought, maybe I will do the same in case something else happens. My car at this point had 110,000 miles or something. And my credit union sold a product, and I'm going to name them here. It was a Route 66 warranty.
Okay.
That's the name of the company. And I was somewhat familiar with Route 66 because as an insurance broker for financial institutions, I had set up some banks and credit unions back in the day with this Route 66 product so they could sell it to their borrowers. But it had been a very long time since I had anything to do with Route 66 or, brokering service contracts for financial institutions. But I saw that my credit union had this, and so I bought one for peace of mind, as they say.
Sure.
Okay. And also, I don't mind telling you, I bought the product that was 4 years or 48,000 miles of coverage.
Okay.
It was $2,435.
Okay.
For the 4 years. And it's not just like the basic powertrain coverage. There's coverage for, let's call it the middle tier. I don't want to get into all the details of what's covered or what's excluded, but it's not just engine, transmission, powertrain, and it's not the full factory coverage. It's kind of like the in-between.
Okay.
Okay, so lots of stuff is covered, but there's some stuff that isn't also. But one of the things on the very first page, and I'm looking at it now, one of the things that I did select for coverage is the turbo/supercharger. And then in parentheses, it says factory installed only. Now, my Camaro has a turbo. Anyway, I bought this September 18th, 2025.
Okay.
And it just so happens, it was about 40 days later, I had trouble with the turbo. Or I didn't know what I had trouble with, but the car was sluggish.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I remember I was driving from Tucson back up to Chandler, Arizona, and on the 10 to pass somebody. And it's like I was driving a lawnmower.
Like it just wouldn't accelerate?
No, it would not. I shouldn't say lawnmower. Sometimes I rent cars that are like 4-cylinder, tin cans, and you hit the accelerator and then it starts to go forward like 8 seconds later. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what it was like.
Okay.
So obviously that's a problem. That's not how the Camaro typically performs. And so I took it in, and the shop I took it to was like, oh yeah, your turbo needs to be replaced. So okay, all right. And I thought, okay, well, a good thing I just bought this product. And I specifically remember checking that box for the turbo. And I'll ballpark it, like the repairs were going to be in the neighborhood of $900.
Okay.
Okay, so not $7,000 like the engine was, but $900. That's real money. I don't want to pay for that if I don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Route 66 warranty advertises it as a convenient product where and you can take your car to any ASE certified mechanic and they can do the work for you, and Route 66 will pay the garage over the phone or whatever with a credit card. You don't have to pay for it up front and then submit a claim and get reimbursed. Gotcha. And all that.
Okay.
Right? Which does sound convenient. So I figured, all right, these guys at my garage, they'll call Route 66, they'll get it taken care of. Well, what ends up happening is the garage calls me and they're like, hey, so Route 66 is denying this claim. I was like, oh, okay, why? And they're like, well, the gist of it was the turbo is covered, but on my car, the parts within the parts that comprise the turbo were malfunctioning and needed to be replaced, but the whole turbo didn't. Therefore, there was no coverage for anything.
Okay.
You follow?
I follow what was said.
Okay. I don't know vehicles inside out. I wouldn't know how to put a turbo together or name all the components of it. Even today, after going through this, I still don't. I'm not a mechanic. But that didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yep, I agree with that.
Okay. So I decided I'm going to write an email to claims. Or actually, I called them first, and I talked to a guy. His name was Jake. And I got the same kind of explanation from Jake that I got from my garage. And so I sent him an email following up after I kind of processed it. Because in the moment on the phone, like, he's telling me, yeah, it's not covered. Like, your turbo's covered, but all the parts in it are not covered. And at one point, I'm talking to this guy, Jake. I said to him, well, that doesn't really make sense to me that the turbo is covered, but the parts of the turbo are not covered. And his reply back to me, he's like, well, just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that that's not the situation. Or something like that. I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
And I remember thinking that was incredibly rude, but also, well, I didn't like that. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I mean, that logically, or I guess rationally, this doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. I don't know if you had asked them this, if there was an example of a turbo malfunction that would have been covered to the whole apparatus.
Yeah.
Like if the whole thing falls out of your car, and is that covered because it was the whole unit?
Right. Yeah, I didn't ask him that, but
I guess I'm curious what qualifies as like the whole turbo.
Well, so I'm going to read part of the email that I sent to him. So, Dear Route 66, I spoke to Jake this morning about my claim and the reason for the denial of my claim for the turbocharger system failure on my 2016 Chevy Camaro. Based on that phone call with Jake, I understand your position that the turbocharger itself is covered under my Main Street plan, but that the wastegate, actuator, and solenoid are not individually listed.
Okay.
Those were the three parts that had gone bad.
Okay.
I continued. However, these parts are factory installed and integral to the turbocharger assembly. Without a functioning wastegate, actuator, or solenoid, the turbocharger cannot regulate boost pressure or operate as designed. Now, I'll admit, I didn't write that. I pulled that off of Google or whatever.
Google
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, I gotcha.
So, again, continuing. This is a single interdependent system, and its mechanical breakdown meets the plan's definition of a covered failure. After talking with my garage, I'm not going to name them, they're happy to provide documentation verifying that all listed components are part of the factory-installed turbocharger system. And I ask that it gets reevaluated, right? They got my email. I confirmed that they received it 1 or 2 days later, and I called and I spoke to the same guy, Jake, again. And I was like, did you get the email? He's like, yeah, we got your email. I was like, oh, okay, so is there like a time frame for getting back to me? He goes, no. And I'm just like dumbfounded. I'm like, well, when might I expect to hear from you again? He's like, well, you won't. Like, we already denied the claim. Like, we're done with that. It was like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, whatever. And I see where this is going. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm just going to have to get my attorney to, write a letter. I'm going to have to go back to the credit union, lean on them and see, like, if they think that this is, nonsense, and will, petition them on my behalf or whatever. But it's going nowhere with this guy, Jake, at Route 66.
I'm getting that impression.
Yeah. So anyway, I have that prepaid legal plan.
Right.
Yeah. Which I use a lot. So I immediately thought of them. And so, I called and I speak to one of the attorneys there, and, she's specializing in basically like consumer protection kind of stuff. She doesn't know cars exactly.
Sure.
But she knows consumer protection. So she's going to write a letter for me. And I want to just read part of the letter that she wrote. And again, because she doesn't know cars, she's basically just taking information that I gave her and she's just putting it into like
legal
jargon. Yeah. So it's addressed to Route 66, to whom it may concern. We write on behalf of Mr. Robert Yerby concerning the above referenced claim on his Chevy Camaro. Mr. Yerby states that his mechanic determined that the vehicle's turbocharger, wastegate actuator, and solenoid had failed. All these were factory installed components. Mr. Yerby advises that you nonetheless denied his claim, alleging that the turbo was covered but its parts were not. He states that on November 4th, your representative also claimed that the actuator and other parts of the turbo assembly were not covered because they were bolted onto the turbo and were separate parts that work in conjunction with each other. However, General Motors lists the actuator as part of the factory installed turbo assembly. And then we included some documentation like from an online parts listing from General Motors, and you see the turbo assembly and like all the little pieces that are in it, and they're selling the turbo with all of those pieces in it. So that was the gist of that letter. And I'm not kidding, like I was on my way to Panama. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think I was leaving the next day, and I got a call from Jake at Route 66.
Okay.
And Lord, he was lovey-dovey. And he calls and he's just like, "Oh, Mr. Yerby, where can I send you a check?" Mm-hmm. So first he wanted the receipt. He wanted to confirm that I had actually gotten the turbo fixed. And this whole process took a month.
Right.
So I definitely had the car fixed by then. I said, yeah, the car's been fixed. It's in my garage. And he just wanted a receipt showing how much it was, and he mailed me a check. And I had it in my mailbox when I got back from Panama. Just like that.
Ooh, okay.
But, like, if you see the commercials on TV, not for Route 66, but there's a million and one mechanical breakdown companies. And they're always talking about, like, peace of mind and, how easy it is and all this stuff. But that seemed like some BS.
Oh, I agree 100%. And, well, I guess I'd say a couple things. I'd say the first is that it seemed like you went through a lot of investigation and effort and even trying to educate yourself on car pieces and maintenance to get to the point where you could be reimbursed for your repairs. And I feel like maybe a lot of people who purchase these agreements wouldn't go through that because of the hassle and confusion, and maybe taking Jake's word that you're indeed not covered for reason A, B, or C. And I could see that being very frustrating for some individuals who purchase these agreements initially going in and I purchased this agreement and I don't know anything about cars, but I know I'm covered.
Yeah.
If something happens. After this experience and knowing, what you know about insurance and these agreements, do you feel like so far the, agreement plan you purchased it was worth it? Or is a good idea for someone owning like a typical personal vehicle?
Well, I don't think service contracts are a good idea for everybody. Mm-hmm. But I would say that about any kind of insurance. And I should add the disclaimer. This is technically not insurance in Arizona. Mechanical breakdown insurance, might be insurance in your state, but this particular product is technically not insurance. So it's not regulated by Arizona's Department of Insurance. And okay, so we get that out of the way. I don't think any kind of insurance plan or coverage, I could make a blanket statement. Everybody, should get that. And I wouldn't here. I think these products suffer from an adverse selection problem. And what I mean by that are the people that buy these products tend to be people that think they might have a problem with their car. And I'll admit that that's true of me. Like I had just had the problem with the engine a few months before I bought it. So yeah, I thought it's certainly possible I might have a problem with my car. And then I did. And I might have more problems with it. I still have another 44 months of coverage.
Right.
But would I buy it again based on my experience? I wonder, because quite honestly, I don't know if I've had a service contract before. This might be the first time I ever bought one myself. So I don't have a lot of personal experience with it. But I wonder if the experience I had, from a customer service perspective is, significantly different with Route 66 than it would be with any other company.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I feel like that would make a big difference. Because, like you had said, it sounded like when you initially purchased the agreement, it was going to be a very simple process to get either quickly reimbursed or pay at time of service. And it was going to be quick and painless. And it wasn't. And it sounds like it was also difficult to work with Mr. Jake and the customer service side of things. So for one of my vehicles, I purchased one from a Honda dealership in 2021, and let me know if this isn't the same type of agreement or contract. But when I purchased the vehicle, I also had a service agreement with Honda, where I'm trying to remember how long. I think it was for a period of it was like 2 years, 24,000 miles or something. But, and to my knowledge, it covered both like a lot of the traditional like maintenance things you do for vehicles, like oil changes, like inspections, tire rotations, things like that. And then it also covered, more significant, needed repairs to the engine or other things like that. And of course I don't have like the policy in front of me, but,
right.
But my experience with that from like the customer service perspective was really good as far as being able to stay like on track with all these maintenance items. There was a few like random things that came up. There was issues with the wheels and like the front axle of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. They addressed it immediately at no cost. I don't think I was ever asked any specific questions about how it happened, or there was no discussion about is this covered or not covered or whatever. So maybe it does really depend on who you're getting the agreement from too, as far as the peace of mind and how confident you are that the things that are included in the contract are indeed covered, and how much you need to know about vehicles.
Right. Yeah, something else is coming to mind. So my tires. The first time that I had to get new tires for the Camaro, I remember like researching tires like for hours. Okay. Because, well, there's a lot of options for tires. Beyond, if you just go into a tire place, like they'll give you whatever tires like will fit. But really for a high performance machine like my Camaro is, like there's a lot of options really.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to just get the stock tires over at, Big O or Discount Tire or whatever, right?
Right.
So I did a lot of research. I found the tires that I wanted. They're, I don't mind saying they're the Indy Firehawk tire, and they're not terribly expensive, but they also don't last as long as, it's not a 50,000 mile tire.
Okay.
So, I've gone through a bunch of tires. I love these tires, by the way. I'll probably never put a different tire on my Camaro. but I go through them. So I've gone through a bunch of sets of them. And when I get them, I get the maintenance plan on the tire. And the first time that I did it, or that I got these tires, I don't know if I chose it, but I feel like it was the default option. They like just gave me the plan and charged me for it. And I found out later that I didn't necessarily have to get it. But I'll tell you what, I get it every time now, because for whatever reason, maybe it's based on how I drive or where I drive or whatever, but I get flat tires kind of a lot.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. You've never mentioned it to me. Really?
I do. It's in 110,000 miles. I bet you I've had 10 flat tires.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I lose track of, what tires have been patched and which ones haven't. Like, it's that much.
Wow.
So, the last time that I had a flat, in fact, the dude that does the work on them, his name's Israel. He's like, yeah, we actually can't patch that one because there's already a patch in it. And this patch would be too close to that one or whatever he said. He was just like, you're going to get a new tire. He's like, but it's under warranty. And so they give me like a price for the new tire. It's like prorated based on the remaining life of that tire. But anytime I need a patch, it's free. When I need a new tire, like that just happened, it's prorated. But more often than not, I just get a full set of tires. And anyway, I bring that up because working with those guys is super easy. Like they don't screw around with me about, if you hit a nail, it's covered, but if it's a screw, it's not. Or,
right.
Or they don't ask me how I was driving. It doesn't matter. Like, were you taking a turn at 60 miles an hour? Yeah. Oh, that's not covered. Mm-hmm. There's none of that nonsense. It's easy.
Yeah. And, do you remember how much that warranty plan, added to your tire costs? So,
gosh, I don't.
Extra $30, extra $50, $100 with the tires.
I feel like I'm just making this up, but maybe it's like $15 a tire.
Okay. So, not much.
I don't know.
And if you're sitting on the road every 3 months with flat tires, it sounds like a good investment.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing it every time now. But yeah, back to would I recommend this? I mean, my girlfriend has a service contract. And actually she has one with Route 66 also. That's how I knew that the credit union had that product, because she has the Route 66 product. Would I recommend it? I don't know. I mean, it's case by case. I think whether you're with Route 66 or somebody else, you need to know to be assertive and not just take their first answer.
Yeah, and I guess maybe it also really depends on the type of vehicle that you have.
Yeah.
With someone who has a Camaro, or my father-in-law, he has a BMW. I know that certain makes and models are, well, for one, they might have just more mechanical issues in general, but also are just more complicated when it comes to maintenance, repair, and diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. Or you might need a mechanic that specializes in European cars.
Sure.
And maybe his time is more expensive than somebody who just works on Chevys.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But that service contract is going to cost more.
Mm.
The contract for a BMW will cost more than, all else equal, it'll cost more than one for a Ford.
Honda or Toyota or...
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think the lesson is really just you got to be assertive. And this could be a commercial for those legal plans. I spend $30 a month for my legal plan, and I probably call somebody over there 4 or 5 times a year. I get my money's worth out of that too. I don't often have to get them to write letters for me. Usually they just give me advice, and I can take it and run with it. But I guess it depends on what it is. But this letter sure worked. That was the next day.
Yeah.
Sounded
immediate.
Jake, his attitude turns right around. He's sending me $900. So, yep, good stuff. cars are complicated. I mean, well, you just said it. I mean, they're getting more and more complicated. There's another product out there that one of my friends and customers had showed me. It's an aftermarket product, and it just covers like the electronics in cars.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's so much software that's in your car now and all that touchscreen nonsense. If something goes bad with the software, there's a aftermarket product for that. And if I can dig it up, I'll put it in the show notes. And I don't broker that product. I don't have that product, but I saw it and kind of like just read through some of the product materials and thought it was really fascinating. And I think if I had a newer car than I do, because mine's a 2016 still. I mean,
mm-hmm.
Yes, there's software in there, but it's not like a 2026 car.
Right.
I think if I had a newer car, I'd be looking at something like this for that coverage. Or I'd be asking questions like, if I was going to buy a new car today, I might ask a question like, hey, if this breaks, what is that going to cost me? Because I didn't do that when I bought the Camaro. And then I remember finding out, when the windshield needed to be replaced, it was like $2,000. And I'm like, it's a piece of glass. Right? Oh, but it's not. It's got to be some special glass because I've got this heads-up display that'll show me, how fast I'm going and what song I'm listening to in the windshield.
Yeah.
So when I'm going 100 miles an hour, I don't have to look down at the dash to see how fast I'm going. It's right there at my eye level, for example.
Mm.
Yeah, $2,000 for a windshield.
Well, if it's got those specialized displays and stuff, it doesn't surprise me.
I mean, what else could go wrong in a new car? I've driven a Tesla. I've seen all the buttons and the goofy lights and everything that's going on in there. Like, what if that breaks down? What does that cost? I have no idea.
Well, I mean, with these newer cars, the other question I would ask is, if this breaks, this electronic part breaks, what does it impact to the vehicle? Because let's say with my 2021 HRV, I've had issues with the radio, and we've taken it in a couple different times, and they could address it, but it's expensive, and whatever is wrong with the electronics within, it just impacts the functionality of the radio occasionally, right? Mm-hmm. So it's okay, the vehicle functions fine, right? I've heard of issues with newer vehicles where the electronics are a lot more embedded into the steering functionality, to the locking mechanisms in the vehicle, where something will go wrong in the electronics and you're locked out of your vehicle,
or you're locked in the vehicle,
right? So I don't know, when I maybe look for another vehicle someday, hopefully not anytime soon, I'm sure the electronics will be even more advanced then and embedded into the core functionality of the car. I'll be asking okay, well, if this part or that part or whatever it dies, am I still gonna be able to steer the vehicle? Is this gonna be an issue where I'm driving down the highway? And I know it definitely concerns me a little bit, the electronics part, and I like my vehicles to be as simple as possible. Maybe because it's easier to diagnose and to fix issues with it. So
yeah, right on. Okay, well, I think we have exhausted our time. I appreciate you joining me on the podcast, and everybody out there listening. We'll be back with another episode in hopefully a couple weeks. In the meantime, if you happen to be a licensed insurance producer or adjuster and you need insurance continuing education, check out our live webinars at BMFCE.com. If you like the podcast, maybe share an episode with somebody that has a car and maybe has a problem with their car. Sharing episodes, that's a great way to increase our audience. We really appreciate that. And, like it, subscribe to it, whatever you do. Really appreciate all that. So thanks again, everybody. We'll be back soon.